What's happening, guys? Scott from A Hornet's Nest. Welcome back to episode 7 of Tutorial Tuesday. It's so good to see you. And in today's episode, we are talking all things DCS Bios. From the installation to the implementation, it's going to be the complete guide to get you up and running. So by the end of today's episode, if you've been following along, you should have enough knowledge to get your flight simulator fully coded. But saying that, if you still need help at the end of it, always reach out. I'm more than happy to make personal tutorials and get them in the queue so you can get your flight sim going as quickly as possible. Now, what are we doing today? We have to download and install DCS Bios. We're going to have a look at the new reference tool called BoRT, and then we're going to get our panels up and running. And to show you an example, we're going to be getting the F-18's fire test panel working with a couple lines of code. So to get into it, we need to get into Google and search DCS Bios fork. And the top result is a GitHub website by Skunkworks, and that's the one you want to click. It opens up into the DCS Bios repository, and you want to go to the green bubble with code in it, click the arrow, download the zip. That's going to download everything you need, including your libraries and the programs required to get your Arduino working with the game. While we're here, we need to download a program called BoRT, and it stands for the BIOS Reference Tool. It's also by Skunkworks, so you can click DCS Skunkworks at the top left, go into their overview page. You want to scroll down until you see BoRT, and you want to click that link. To the right of the page, you'll see releases. There's 8 of them, and the latest is version 0.2.4 on October 13th. If you're watching this and it is a new release and it's 0.2.5, download that one because you want the most up to date. You select the version, it shows you an example of what you're going to see in BoRT, and you want to scroll down to the assets. You want to download BoRT, the version number .setup.exe. It's about 84 megabytes, so it'll take a little bit of time to download depending on your internet speed. But while that's downloading, we can close the browser as we have everything we now need. Now that's downloaded, we want to go and open up our downloads folder, and we want to select DCS Bios Master and unzip that folder. You want to drag the DCS Bios Master folder just onto your desktop as a temporary location. While we're in the downloads folder, we want to take the BoRT 0.2.4 setup, or whichever one you've got. You want to go right click and you want to create a shortcut. You now want to drag that shortcut onto your desktop as well, because you're going to be needing BoRT quite often and you don't want to go back to the folders and try to find where it is. So now that we've gone and extracted what we need, let's open up the DCS Bios Master folder. And we also need to open up our save games folder. Now, if you're not sure what the save games folder is, because there will be people out there that don't know where that is, because that was me 2 years ago. If somebody had to say to me, go to your save games folder, I had to jump on Google and try to work out what that was. You wouldn't believe it, but I wasn't actually computer savvy up until I started this project. So to open up the save games folder, press the hotkey Windows E to open up a new file explorer. Local disk C. Users, select your username. For me, it's Scott. Saved games, DCS Open Beta. If you're using stable, select that version. And now you'll be presented with a number of folders. The one you're looking for is scripts. You may not have scripts as a folder, and that's completely fine. It just means you haven't added any third-party scripting to it like SRS Radio or TACView. Now, if you don't have it, you can copy and paste the scripts folder straight away from your DCS Bios Master download, and you can copy it straight into the DCS Open Beta folder. If you have already got scripts in there, you want to open up that script folder, and you want to open up the script folder in the DCS Bios Master download. You want to drag and drop the DCS Bios folder within that into scripts. Now I'm going to use a program called Notepad++, and I'm going to open up the export file within the downloaded DCS Bios scripts folder. It's going to give me a single line of code, do file, scripts, DCS Bios, bios.lua. It's essentially a line of code telling the game to do this file and run the DCS Bios scripting. We're going to select it and Control C, and then we're going to close that export file. And now you want to open up the export.lua file within the DCS Open Beta save games. All you have to do is copy and paste your do file line all the way at the bottom, and then you can press save. That is it pretty much done. Now that's all done, let's go and drag and drop the programs folder into our DCS save games folder as well under scripts. That way it's an easy spot for us to find it when we need it. That's pretty much everything done with the download. So we can go and close that download and we can go and delete it from our desktop. Couple little admin things we want to do now, just so we're not going back and forth between browsers. We need to go into the programs folder and we want to create a shortcut for connect serial port. The reason for that is this is what's going to create the handshake between your Arduino and the game itself. And it will be opened every single time that you need to use BIOS. So let's create a shortcut for it so we don't have to try and navigate to this folder every time we play. So click connect serial port once, right click, create shortcut. Drag and drop that shortcut down onto your desktop as well. There we go, we've pretty much sorted all the admin out. Let's close that and let's just rearrange the desktop so we have everything nicely organized. Now that that's sorted, bit of a recap what we've just done. We've downloaded BIOS and we've downloaded BoRT. We've gone and installed the BIOS programming into the DCS save games, and we've got and created a few shortcuts so we can easily access the key components of the BIOS system when we want to go and play our games. All we have to do now is open up Arduino IDE and it will generally load to the last sketch that you were using. And you can see here, this was the sketch we were using in episode 6. It doesn't matter if it's an old sketch or a new sketch, the next process we're about to follow is all the same. We want to go and install and initialize the library so Arduino knows what we're talking about when we're referencing DCS BIOS. And to do that, at the top toolbar, click Sketch, Include Library, Add.zip library. You're going to be able to find the Arduino library in the Save Games folder, and to do that, local to C, users, your profile, Save Games, DCS Open Beta, Scripts, Programs. The reason I put Programs in the scripting folder was it's just somewhere we know that DCS BIOS is to do with the script. Everything DCS BIOS can just go sit there. Programs, double click the Arduino library, and now you've got DCS BIOS Arduino library 0.3.9. Now, if you've already downloaded BIOS in the past and you're watching this as a refresher or you want to see what the update is, have a look to see what your version number is, because 0.3.9 is the latest library and it's going to have all your mods that you want. Open, and in the output, you should have library installed. Excellent. Well, we're pretty much ready to get coding. To do that, we want to create a new sketch. Now, last episodes, we just created a blank sketch, but with BIOS, they've done an excellent job and already given us some presets to use so we don't have to create the complex coding in the back, nor do we need to set up and create loops. To do that, we want to use an example. So you go File, Example, all the way to the DCS BIOS fork, and you want to select IRQ serial. It will open up a new Arduino sketch, and we can just go close the last one. All right, so there's a bit of information on the sketch that we need to go through just so you know what it is. That way you can easily navigate it, you can delete stuff to make it cleaner, and you can keep stuff so you're not wrecking the program. Lines 1 to 8 is just text saying what this program is. It tells DCS BIOS to use the serial connection and use an interrupt-driven communication style. The main program will be interrupted to prioritize processing of incoming data. This should work on any Arduino that has a Mega 328 controller, an Uno, Pro Mini, Nanos, Megas, the whole lot. So the next line, line 9, just defines the DCS BIOS IRQ serial, and then we're including the DCS BIOS.h. That's the library we just initialized, version 0.3.9. That's what we're talking about here. Then we get a line that says paste code snippets from the reference documentation here. Well, what code snippets do we have? keep hold of that. We will get back to that because this is where it gets real easy and BIOS is less intimidating than what you think it actually is. Well, we're back to what we know, the void setup. It runs once and it initializes the board. And this is where we have DCS Bios setup. What that's saying is DCS Bios, the back-end coding, already has a setup script to initialize all the pins and the outputs and all that. So when we do this, we don't actually have to go and initialize any pin modes or input types. It's really clever. And then we've got our void loop saying run the loop of DCS Bios in the back. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete lines 1 to 8, purely because I don't like messy code and a heap of like text. But I'm going to keep line 5 in now, which is the paste snippets, just so you can see where I'm pasting things. What we want to go do now is open up BoRT. If we just minimize our Arduino and we click the BoRT shortcut that we created, it's going to load up the app BoRT. Now, don't be surprised as it's spooling up and it's initializing that it closes itself and opens back up again. That's completely normal. So we'll just wait for that and then we'll be good to start. There we go. That's it on its second load up. Now we can have a look at the interface of BoRT, the DCS Bios reference tool. The first thing you're going to see is a red flashing button with the word connecting. That's just saying DCS, the game, is not open yet. It can't actually reference to it. So it's just trying to connect. It will stay connecting until we open the game. You do not need it to be connected to get the snippets of code. We can select a module and you can see here just how incredible this is, how many modules they've gone and taken the time to create for us. So the DCS Bios team, whoever's worked on that, are absolute internet heroes. We want to go and select the F18C Hornet, and then we can see all the 50,000 different options of switches that we've got in the Hornet. To make it easy to find, category, fire test panel, because that's what we're using, the fire test panel on the Hornet. Show live data, you want that ticked, and you want show Arduino scaffold code ticked as well. If you can't see any coding in the input section or the output section, it's because you didn't tick scaffold code. So you want to select show Arduino scaffold code and it will show you what you need. You now have your two options here. You've got an input panel and an output panel. The input panel is for everything switch related, potentiometer related, volume knobs, the whole lot. Anything going to the game is an input. Anything being drawn from the game is an output. We're just going to stick here on the input panel, but I'm just going to show you on the output panel this little line here, current value 0 and 0%. When it is connected to the game, that will show the current position of the switch, allowing you to code a little bit more cleverly. But that's going to be another episode. We want to keep this simple and get you up and running as quickly as possible. There are multiple lines of code that you can copy and paste, and they're just different types of inputs. The second line here is switch 3 pos. That's just saying if you're using a 3-position switch, and that's what we're using today. The matrix, if you're using a matrix, and if you're using an analog multi-position switch, that's the line of code you would use there. To copy and paste our second line, we're going to press the copy icon at the top right, and that's now copied to our clipboard. We can open up back in Arduino, and I'm just going to push BoRT to my other monitor, just because it will always stay on top of your current screen so you can reference it in game. If you don't need it, you can either minimize it or just push it to a different monitor. Now, we've got our snippet. We now have a very clear instruction here, paste code snippets from the reference documentation here. Great, so this is where we're doing it. We are including our snippets in between the BIOS H library initialization and setup. Great. Control V, it's pasted. Look at that. We are pretty close to getting this panel up and running, and it's very cool. As always, when I do Arduino tutorials, we are going to read it as Arduino is reading it so you understand what the code is talking about. There is no point just copying and pasting and then hoping for the best. Try understand what you're copying and pasting, that way you can fix it if you need to. So a bit of a translation, it's referencing the DCS Bios library, : it's referencing a little program within the BIOS library, which is called switch 3 pos. That library talks to the computer and says, how do I want to read this switch? It's got a heap of digital reads in it. All the stuff we did last episode, it's doing in the background under switch 3 pos. Fire test switch is the name that BIOS has given the switch. And then the string, which is just a series of letters in the quotation marks, is the actual switch name that the game references. Pin A and pin B are just the pins you are now connecting to your Arduino to connect the switch up. An easy way to remember what pin A and pin B is, on each switch you will generally have a reference key to stop the switch from free spinning. The pin or the terminal lug on the side of the reference key will be pin A, and then on the opposite side is pin B. The middle is just a common ground. Now we can go into switch theory in a later episode, but to get you up and running so you can get your flight sim going by the end of today, just remember reference key on the switch, the lug on that side is pin A, and the lug on the bottom is pin B. So we can actually go now and connect up our panel. So we've got fire test A connected to the red wire. We're going to make that pin number 5, and fire test B is connected to the yellow wire, and we're going to make that pin 7. Now there is absolutely no reason for those numbers, it's just the first numbers on the board that I saw. We're going to take our blue wire, which is connected to the common ground, and we're just going to connect it into the ground pin. As simple as that, we have our switch wired up and we are ready to code. Now, what did I say last episode? Do not hard code numbers into your code if you can help it. Because, can you imagine now if we have 200 copy and paste of these snippets and we have just different numbers rattling around, one, you're probably going to forget what the parameters were, and two, you're not going to remember what to delete. So we want to create a variable. We went through that in episode 6, but a quick refresher, a variable is just a little container that stores data that allows us to easily remember what that data packet is. We are dealing with whole numbers, this is pin 7 and pin 5. So we are dealing with integers. And to create an integer, we want to type int for integer. We declare the variable type. Variable name is fire test A equals 5. Semicolon. Always finish with a semicolon. Our next variable is int fire test B equals 7 semicolon. And there we have it. We've got our variables initialized and I've put them above the DCS BIOS code. The reason for that is Arduino reads in consecutive order of the line numbers. If we had to reference the DCS BIOS switch pos line first, then variables under, Arduino doesn't know what those variables are. It will just be like, not really sure what you want here. So put your variables at the top and then anything that you are referencing after that. Always reference a variable first, then the code. We can go replace pin A with our new variable, fire test A. And we can go replace pin B with fire test B. Do you see how our variables here are in white text? And it's an easy to remember name. You know that you've gone and called it that. If we just had to replace fire test A with 5, it goes into that blue text, very similar to fire test underscore switch. If you had a heap of that, you come back to this maybe 12 months later to redo some coding, you might forget that that 5 was a 5 that you put in compared to a 5 that it was already copy and pasted with. So that's why it can just get confusing. So create easy to remember variables as much as you can. There we've pretty much got it. One last translation, so we really do know what's going on. We're referencing the DCS Bios library. There's a sub-program called switch3pos, and the program has called it fire test switch. It will affect the fire test switch within the game, and pin A is fire test A connected to pin 5, and fire test B connected to pin 7. All we have to do now is make sure we select our Arduino and we see that it's connected to COM3. Remember the COM number that your Arduino is connected to. It's very important. Arduino, and we can go press upload. It's compiling, it's uploading, and it is ready to go. So we can close Arduino and open up DCS. Prior to opening up DCS, let's open up the command serial port shortcut that we created just because it's a bit hard to get back to the desktop once DCS is open. We want to open that up and it gives us a command prompt and it gives us a line saying enter the COM port number. Don't enter it in just yet. We're going to enter it, submit it once the game is up and running so it can create the handshake. So let's open up DCS and get into a instant action mission. While that's loading up, the best thing about DCS Bios is that you don't need to go do a ton of key binding. We've done all the effort by creating two variables and then substituting them into the code. It's really that simple. So you never have to worry about key bindings getting corrupted. You can just get straight on into the game. All right, so here we are in an instant action mission in the F-18 and we are looking at the left forward side console in the jet. We can see that we've got the fire test panel. And I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty good. The only difference is ours looks very clean straight out the factory. Now, one day I might weather these to look just like in game. What we have to do now that the game is initialized, it's set up, everything's ready to go, we're gonna press Alt Tab and we're gonna open up that command prompt window that we had before. We were on COM3, yours may be different, yours may be COM4 or COM5, it just depends what USB port you're using. I'm gonna type 3, enter. Wait a couple of seconds or press a key to continue and you'll see a ton of lines of code running. It's created the handshake, it's working, we're good to go. Keep that running though because it needs to be running for the game to work. Minimize and we can go straight here and see the magic happen. We're going to go to Fire Test A and test the first fire system.
Engine fire left.
That's pretty cool. Like, even with the HID controller that we made with the F5, there was a tiny bit of delay between it reading the code and then submitting it. This is almost instant. It's wonderful. B, back to A. It really is a cool system. And we did it with 2 lines of code, a couple of copy and pasting, all because of the heroes that created DCS Bios. So, that's pretty much it. You can go and do this for the remainder of your cockpit, getting all your switches running. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of differences between receiving outputs now, but they can be for a later lesson. Let's just get the switches working so you can get flying. Now, before we finish up, let's have a chat about a few limitations. As you can see here, we have a switch hardwired straight to the Arduino. You can imagine if we had the full cockpit up and running, we would need meters and meters and meters of wire just to be able to connect it to Arduino. And then if we wanted to fix this panel for some reason, we would need to unplug it from the Arduino. Well, this is where circuit boards come in. And next episode, we are talking about PCBs or printed circuit boards and how to implement them. And to show you what one looks like, this is the printed circuit board for the fire test panel. Yeah, it's quite simple. It's got 3 pins and it's got a connector on the back. That way we can disconnect it from the connector, have the wiring in the cockpit all still stationary, and then we can pull it out as a modular system. And I'm super excited to announce that next episode we are partnering with PCBWay to show you all things circuit boards. So that's it for today. I hope you get your flight sim running by the end of it. If you've got any questions, always send me a message. I'm always willing to help out and get your flight sim going. Stay safe, enjoy your flight simming, and I will see you next episode, which I believe is after Christmas. So have a wonderful Christmas. Enjoy it with those close to you, your friends and family. Thank you for being part of the Hornets Nest community, and I will see you next episode.